Deep in a cave in Iraq, archaeologists found a skeleton. One arm was missing below the elbow, crushed and healed over decades earlier. He was blind in one eye. His hip and spine were riddled with arthritis, so severe he could barely walk without pain. And yet, he lived to be about 40 years old. In a world with no doctors, no antibiotics, no stitches, no anesthesia, not even the concept of germs, a cut on your foot could kill you within a week. A bad tooth could kill you. Childbirth could kill you, nearly 1 in 3 times. And yet, your ancestors weren't dying at the rate you'd expect. Somehow, enough of them survived every single injury, every single infection, every winter of sickness, to eventually make you. So what exactly kept them alive? Let's start with the most basic threat, infection. You cut your hand. Today, you rinse it, maybe put on some antiseptic, forget about it by the morrow. 50,000 years ago, that same cut was a coin flip. Bacteria didn't have a name yet, but your ancestors weren't ignorant of what caused wounds to go bad. Archaeological residue analysis from sites across Europe and the Middle East has found something remarkable. Ancient humans were using yarrow, a plant with natural antimicrobial properties, packed directly into wounds. They were chewing on willow bark, which contains the same compound found in modern aspirin, to bring down fever and pain. They didn't know why it worked. They just knew, generation after generation, that it did. That's not luck. That's centuries of trial and error passed down as memory, because the people who didn't pass it down didn't survive to have descendants. Then there's the bigger threat, broken bones. In a body with no cast, no surgery, a broken leg should be a death sentence. You can't hunt, you can't run from predators. You're a burden the group has to carry. And yet, skeletons recovered from sites across Europe show something that shouldn't exist if survival really was every man for himself. Healed fractures. Not just healed, but set. Bones that knitted back together in proper alignment, meaning someone actively straightened the limb and kept it still while it mended. That takes another person. That takes weeks, sometimes months of someone else doing the hunting, the carrying, the feeding for a body that couldn't contribute anything back. And here's where it gets even stranger. Remember that skeleton from Shanidar Cave? Missing an arm, blind in one eye, crippled with arthritis. A predator doesn't keep an injured member of the group around. A wolf pack doesn't slow down for the wolf that can't run. But somebody fed this man for years. Somebody helped him walk. Somebody decided his life was worth the cost of keeping him alive, even though he could give almost nothing back. That single skeleton rewrites the entire story of ancient survival. It wasn't the toughest individuals who made it. It was the individuals who belonged to a group willing to carry the weak ones. Now think about teeth. This one's brutal. No dentists ever. Cavities, abscesses, infections rooted directly into the jaw, a problem that today gets fixed in a single afternoon appointment. Back then, an untreated dental infection could spread into the bloodstream and kill you within days. And yet, archaeologists have found something surprising in ancient remains, evidence of deliberate dental intervention. Small holes drilled into teeth using stone tools, precisely placed to drain an abscess. Someone, tens of thousands of years before the invention of the dentist chair, figured out that draining the infection relieved the pain and sometimes saved the tooth and the life attached to it. But here's a question worth sitting with for a second. Injuries and infections happen fast. You can point to a moment, a cut, a fall, a fever. Aging is slower, quieter, and in a lot of ways, it's the harder mystery to explain. Because getting old without medicine should be nearly impossible. Eyesight fails, joints wear down to bone on bone, teeth wear flat or fall out entirely, which in a world with no soft food and no dentures should mean starvation. And yet, archaeological sites keep turning up something they shouldn't if the old and the weak were simply left behind. Elderly skeletons, not rare outliers, but a consistent pattern across sites on multiple continents.
people who lived years, sometimes decades, past the point where their bodies could contribute meaningfully to hunting, gathering, or defending the group. One skeleton discovered in the country of Georgia belonged to a person who had lost every single tooth years before death. No teeth means no chewing. No chewing meant somebody else had to prepare that person's food every single day, softened or pre-chewed, for years, with nothing expected in return. A lion with no teeth starves within days. A human with no teeth got taken care of for years. That difference is the entire story. Childbirth might be the most dangerous event a human body can go through, and it always has been. Before modern medicine, the risk of dying from complications during birth was staggeringly high, somewhere close to 1 in 3 over a woman's reproductive lifetime when you add up every pregnancy. No sterile tools, no emergency surgery, no blood transfusions. And yet, humanity didn't just survive childbirth, it thrived through it, generation after generation. Because birth was never something one woman did alone in ancient life. Anthropological studies of remaining hunter-gatherer groups consistently show the same pattern. Multiple women present, experienced elders guiding the process, knowledge of which plants slowed bleeding, which positions eased labor, passed down mouth to mouth, because there was no textbook. The infant mortality rate was brutal by modern standards, but the system that got as many mothers and babies through as it did wasn't primitive. It was refined by trial and error over thousands of generations, the same way everything else was. So here's the pattern hiding underneath every single one of these examples. It was never about one genius healer or one lucky discovery or raw physical toughness. It was about knowledge that outlived the individual. Every plant that helped a wound heal, every technique for setting a bone, every trick for draining an infection only survived because someone was alive long enough to teach it to somebody else. A body can heal in a single lifetime. Knowledge only survives across many. That's the actual medicine. Not a single ingredient, not a single trick, but a chain of people refusing to let hard-won information die with them. And there's one more piece to this that's easy to miss. The elders themselves were the medicine, not just the plants they remembered, but the fact that they were kept alive long enough to remember anything at all. A group that abandons its old and injured loses that knowledge in a single generation. A group that carries them keeps it forever. Every healed fracture, every toothless survivor, every blind and crippled man in a cave in Iraq wasn't just an act of compassion. It was a survival strategy disguised as one. And that's the part modern life quietly erases. You've never had to remember which plant stops bleeding, because you'll never need to know. You've never had to learn how to set a bone, because a hospital exists to do it for you. That knowledge, held for hundreds of thousands of years by people who had absolutely nothing else to protect them, has mostly evaporated in a single century, because we finally built something good enough to replace it. Your ancestors weren't lucky to survive without medicine. They built their own, out of memory, community, and the simple refusal to let each other die alone.